What's a fakemon creator's worst fear? Oh, okay, but what's their 10th worst fear? A new Pokemon region coming out where they overlap with your designs. Pokemon is a big company, and people are bound to make comparisons. But what's worse about recently announced designs is that you couldn't have known about those Mons coming. Even if you made your design first, there would always be a bonehead who says that you copied them. Look, I have been making a STEM-based region since 2020, and honestly, nearly every ad for Scarlet and Violet hit me with similarities. I used to call my project Logic and Passion with Scarlet and Violet colors. I wanted an academy/college setting that I thought would fit a STEM-based region. I also wanted to treat the champion certificate like a diploma, where there's not just one champion in the region, but just several of them. I don't have receipts for all that, except for my Twitch VODs, but they've expired by now. But I do have receipts on some of the Mon designs I've always had. So this video will go over designs that coincidentally overlapped with Generation 9, and how I'm dealing with it, before I conclude with my 2 cents on the whole matter. Wooper has been one of my favorite mons for a long time. So back when this was still a fakemon project, I didn't plan on having a game or anything, so I had some regional variants. Back in October 10th of 2020, there was oh gosh, that's terrible. So I redrew it on March 2nd, 2022, which was still 5 months before Paldea and Wooper was announced. But here's my regional Wooper, who is here to represent stem cells. Stem cells are special cells that can grow into a different kind of cell. All babies start off with pluripotent stem cells that can turn into nearly every other cell, but as they mature, the cells become more specialized and eventually only have a few multipotent stem cells, which are cells that can turn into a select variety of cells. In medicine, these are studied for their regenerative properties because if stem cells are applied to damaged tissue, the cells will grow into replacement tissue. Now, axolotls are known for having a lot of stem cells even when they're fully grown, as they can regenerate gills, limbs, organs, even their spine. So this healing Wooper evolves into another axolotl, Lapsire. Axolotls are popular in regenerative and anti-aging research because, there are other animals that can regenerate themselves, some even more than what axolotls could do, but axolotls are much closer to humans than those other examples because they got a backbone. So I usually have this lineless art style for my game characters, but I haven't drawn ones for this line yet because I can't have Wooper in my game. If I ever do finish making a game, I don't want to be hit with DMCAs and copyright claims. Also, I'm not planning on making a ROM hack, as I've got an idea to shake up the formula. So yeah, my battle mechanics aren't exactly going to be the same as Pokemon. And yes, I currently aim to use this lineless kind of style. Even if my game isn't coming out anytime soon, I'm now looking at my past designs with this new mindset with having an original game as a goal. I had multiple regional mons, but I'll need to redesign them if I want to include them in my game. One day I'll make a whole video on regional mons when I do make new designs, so I'll be back. Just you wait. Gonna take forever. I think Fido was announced in the same trailer as Paldea and Wooper, so I got double boomed that day. Let's see. I had my Glutenmon back in March 28th of 2021, and I redrew it on August of 2021. So here's Doling, a gluten duckling. Gluten refers to a specific group of proteins, which include the gliadin and glutenin proteins. By the way, when chemicals end with the letters IN, that's usually a sign for a protein or something related to proteins. Anyways, gliadin helps the bread rise, while the long glutenin can be linked with strong disulfide bonds, which allows the material to stretch without breaking. Gluten has been known to affect people with specific allergies and also those with celiac disease, where the proteins unfortunately cause some severe symptoms. If doling is at least level 25 and is burned while it's leveling up the next time, it turns into Malof, turning this dough into a fairy fire type. Not only are they a mallard duck, but they are demonstrating the Maillard reaction. It's when your food turns brown when you cook it. At a certain temperature, the proteins in the food melt and fuse with the sugars, making something called a flavonoid, and that's where you get that roasted flavor. Oh so good. Don't burn it though. That'll make acrylamide, which can cause cancer. You know, I like Dogspoon, the evolution to the previously mentioned Fido, but I personally felt that there was no need to change my design. Apart from the bread motif, there's nothing really similar here, so I'll be keeping my design as is. Also, I'm not aiming to dunk on anyone with my design, so the whole sentiment of saying something is better than another is kinda weird amongst creators. I think it's generally better to say what you like without comparisons. I feel like having a Peppermon is pretty popular amongst fakemon artists. There used to be some comments saying how it's such an easy inspiration for a grass-fire combo. Wow. Even Game Freak did it now with the addition of Skullvillain. But here's how I ended up having a pepper design. It started off back with the mint design back in, wow, I'm not showing that, but it was December of 2020. This was horribly rushed and I just wanted to make a wintry design. I cringed so hard that I didn't even revisit this design until a whole year later in December 5th of 2021. So Minter, the Mintmon, made menthol, which makes you feel cold without dropping the temperature. And I thought that this would be the perfect opportunity to give it a rival. A pepper is another plant that makes another chemical, this time capsaicin, which makes you feel hot without raising the temperature. Now, I'm not worrying because this design looks nothing like Skullvillain, but it's been a year since this pepper design, and I think I could redesign this to really make it look like a counterpart to Minter. Here's a premiere showing of the new Capsol. As mentioned before, the chemical capsaicin triggers your heat receptors, which makes you feel hot without the temperature actually being hot. And oh, would you look at that, a first new ability. And since I mentioned them, here's the slightly redesigned Minter. Mints make menthol instead, which triggers your cold receptors, making you feel colder, but it also makes you a bit numb, and it's sometimes used as an analgesic, a pain reliever. On an unrelated note, I buffed this ability a bit more just because of how bad ice type usually is compared to fire types, and reason that Minter is more like an air freshener which splayed out leaves and spreads menthol passively, while Capsol has the capsaicin in the peppers and requires them to attack with it to get the effect. I have a few more Mons that share a concept or look like Gen 9 Mons, but these were ones that I made that I haven't released to the public. I honestly don't care if some concepts overlap. Heck, even Pokemon revisits concepts. The first generation of Pokemon has 2 Mons that reference the Rafflesia flower, and I rarely care if there are Mons that happen to look similar because the concepts are probably very different. Look, I try my best to avoid not only Pokemon designs but also designs of other fakemon artists so I can make my own distinct flavor for my personal project because I want to find my own style. I've always wanted to hone my own craft, and today I've shown you a glimpse of how my art for this project began in the 2020 pandemic. A glimpse of the art that I oh so cringe at. Yet, they were the steps I had to make on my journey. These aren't mishmashes of existing Mons as I researched design so I could avoid retreading the same ground. If my Mons happen to share design elements with the new release that I had no clue knowing, so be it. When there's that much history behind a design, the designs are probably different enough anyways. The story concepts I mentioned at the beginning of the video with the college setting and making my champion certificate a diploma, yeah, I'm not planning on changing those yet as I have my own story to tell that's different from Generation 9's. If I do make a change, it will be because I prefer a new direction. Back in 2020, I called myself no artist, but I kept creating, cringing at my own works, but revising, taking my steps in a direction to be a creator. I'm not done with my journey, not by a long shot, but by the end of 2021, other people started to call me an artist. And you know what? I like that direction. So, this has been Nort. Thank you for watching, and have a great new year.